Good morning. Hello. My name is Lise Colucci, and I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. And hello, good morning to everyone. And we're here with part two of the very, very popular Sex and the Narcissist, sadly, right? But okay. So here we go with the weird glitching. Hello, Jack. Good morning or afternoon, evening, probably where you are, right? How are you? How are you guys doing today? So I had so many people reply to this when I asked if anyone wanted to have a voice with speaking about sex and narcissism within a survivor community, and with the full, no names would be used, but information that they gave would be used to help other people. So, but the amount of replies I got, I simply can't even do into live streams going a full hour plus talking nonstop. Okay, there's that many, and they're all similar but different. You know, they each have a voice and they're all important. So I'm going to just get into it and just take off where we left off last time, with sex and the narcissist and what it feels like. And then I'd like to pause in the middle or toward the end and start talking about ways to recover your own sexual power, your own coming back into yourself. You're feeling good again about that part of your life, because it is just another area where they steal our focus, right? They steal our everything. So let's get going. Hello, Elena, Missy Joy. How are you guys? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to just keep reading these and keep talking. Here we go. Sex life was great, but I was not allowed to say no. How familiar is that, right? We did it every night and sometimes mornings as well. He still found reasons to cheat. Amazing how hindsight is 20/20. I don't want to see his cheating side then. Now everything makes sense. He was extremely affectionate all the time, always touching, rubbing, hand-holding, kissing. Didn't matter where we were. He was what I thought was my perfect match when it came to being affectionate. Now I think it's just his need for physical touch. And I want to say something here. I'm going to interrupt myself and say that not only I don't think is it only their need for physical touch, but that is a form of supply that gives them the security that they have something in their possession that they can own and basically do what they want to. It's a form of that kind of overt affection is a form of objectification, if that makes sense, because it's like having your hands all over someone doesn't give them the space to be themselves, right? Affection's great, and cuddling and touch, and we all need that, right? Or those of us who enjoy that need that. Excuse me. But that kind where it's constant, where you can't say no. I mean, obviously, if you can't say no, there's a problem, right? If you can't say no, it isn't consensual. And I want to get to that too, where consensual and narcissism is not synonymous. So is not possible. You can't be consensual when you're being manipulated. So, okay. So then he started asking me to find another woman to join, and I was fine, but we had a teenager at home, and it never happened, because you just don't do that with kids in the house. And I was accused of not being freaky enough for him. Excuse me. Yes. Yep. That's the boundary pushing that we talked about last time, and that's how they roll, right? It's all this illusion, fantasy, delusional world that they want to create, and it bleeds over into the sex life too. So next one is, my narcissist never snogged me when we were about to have sex. He refused to give me oral. He said he did not like it, but I had to give it to him. After sex, he used to dismiss me or ask if I wanted to do it again, but then look at his phone. So, yeah, most of the time he would withhold sex from me. Yes, I felt more connection in sex. Of course, if they withhold it enough, then when you get it, it's like finally the connection. It's just another form of devaluing, right? To withhold. So we talked about last time anyway. I never trusted him with my fantasies, constantly tried to stick his in my bum. And I hate that. I used to laugh, and he used to laugh because he knew it gave me pain. Let's talk about sadistic tactics, and when they know something hurts, how they enjoy it. Yeah, a lot of them are really, really sadistic people. Wow, that's really bright. I'm sorry, guys. So we've had no sun, so I didn't close the right curtains. Oh, well, we'll just be bright again. All right, I'm going to go see what you guys are saying here. I'm sad I can't watch live, but I'm teaching. Okay, that's okay. Watch later. Hi, Robin. Best I ever had. I was totally vulnerable in the bedroom, and it was all used against me. Used. Only affection after a discard and a Hoover. Then silence and no affection. Yes. You see how it's an easy place to give attention. Let's put it that way. If you are if a narcissist is a sexually oriented person, in other words, they enjoy that part of their life. Some of them don't. And the withholding is easy because they don't care. But when they are the more, sexually driven people, and how easy is it to love bomb there? Because it's gain. You're love bombing and you get to enjoy it as a narcissist, right? Like they get to enjoy what they're doing while they're doing it. It's not the painstaking love bombing of actually having to tell you nice things, or, there's no effort. There's not a whole lot of effort. So they can make it pretty darn good, and they can get pretty into it because they're getting off on themselves. They're getting off on their own reaction to themselves, and you're reacting to them. Most of them need you to have a reaction. You can't be quiet, or you can't have your own space within it to be naturally enjoying it or not enjoying, to be whatever it is in the moment, because it's not always great. You know how it is when it's been a long time, when it's been years, right? It's not always every single time, right? But you can't have that. It always has to be a show. It's like it's like you're putting on a show so that they can get off on themselves, on what they do to you, on how they make you react. Okay. Mine used God, told me she prayed for someone who was good at sex. Oh, yeah, because that's one of God's number one tasks. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't normally bring religion in any way, shape, or form, but that is actually a funny statement and totally sick, right? Okay. All right. So, and I feel sick. So the ending of that last one, I feel so degraded. This is important. I feel so degraded. When I say no, I do not want to have sex, or I am, sorry, I think it was typoed here. When I say no, I do not want to have sex. He manipulated me into doing boob masturbation. Sorry to be crude. And I just did it. I hated it. When I say no to having sex, well, you can guess what happens. Yeah, you have to do it anyway. No's just a boundary to push, right? And she says, I feel sick at the thought of any man touching me again. And that's where it gets really sad, because this is abuse. This is not a loving sexual relationship. It's not playful in any way, shape, or form. And it's not fun for the survivor, especially long term. And it definitely affects how you feel about yourself and other people and your own sexuality. So that's why I want to, if not today, perhaps tomorrow or early next week, just do a just do a live stream on what ways to recover from this. Because it's more than just, well, it happened and now I'm over it, right? It's just like anything else. There's a whole lot of trauma around it. So we'll do that. Okay. Mine gave excuses about sex. He made me feel I was unreasonable and said I put too much into wanting sex and needed it to happen naturally, which means when he wanted it, right? Naturally, because naturally, whatever they want is the way the world naturally works. Of course, natural. Yeah, but just behave naturally. Just behave naturally and just see what happens, right? then you're in for it. Okay, my marriage revolved around sex. He claimed he was oversexed. I was his wife and I was not to turn him down. You see, ownership, again, possession, control. It's not about love. It's not about affection, even when you're getting affection. He thought he was entitled to it. He would occasionally fly out of bed angry and threaten to leave if I turned him down. He said I withheld sex from him as a punishment. I never understood that one. I never finished my 6-week recovery when I had my children. Usually within 2 weeks after giving birth, we were having sex. There was never any intimacy before the sex. And because of all the shaming and manipulating, it was hard to get close to him. But he would make sure I climaxed. Yep. And at the end, because if you didn't, then what would that say about him? right? That's a way for them to prove to themselves how masterful they are at this particular part of their life. And it's one of the more important parts of their life for a lot of them, because how much ego and power can you get over making someone have a reaction to you like that, right? So it's not about love and wanting the other person to have pleasure. It's about wanting to gain their own pleasure from having you have a reaction to them. He said something very hurtful to me one night. He said he used his coercive control to get what he wanted from me that night. And that's another one. And this happens a lot. This happens with men, but it happens a lot with female narcissists, and especially female narcissists towards men. I've heard it in same-sex couples as well, but more so have I heard it with men telling me what has happened with their female narcissist, where they will use the sex to then get the things they want out of you and the reactions they want in life out of you, but not in a way that is, in a very toxic way. Okay. I was on antidepressants. She wanted it. I just wanted to cuddle, and she jumped on me. We were in bed. I screamed, she screamed, "Why won't you give me sex?" I ended up changing my medication. Traumatic. Yep. There's a way to handle that, right? There's a way to have a discussion about that is healthy, and that is not it, right? Mine very rarely shows affection, and anytime I initiate, he never does anything about it, just ignores it. And when we do have sex, it's all about him, no foreplay, and I never get off. It's not quite as bad as a 2-pump chump, but very close. It's frustrating. And there's that kind. See, you can see how there's different ways that the narcissists are. Obviously, they're different people, but there's different types of narcissists with different tactics for control. But you can also hear in that just how controlling it is. It's a form of withholding and using it against you. I need help too. I feel I still want sex with him. Here, this is important too. I feel I still want sex with him. I enjoy the act itself. And now that some time has passed since our breakup, I feel like I can guard myself and not reattach emotionally. I'm sorry, love, but that is so far from the truth, because what will happen, most likely, maybe it's your truth. I can't tell you what your truth is, but for most people, what will happen is the second you have any contact with him or her, the second you have any contact with the narcissist, the trauma bonds begin to reattach. But you begin to go into a state of cognitive dissonance about them, which is the trauma bonding, even if it's been a while. Okay, even if it's been a year or so, it happens. Okay, because the nature of the relationship you have with this person is a toxic one. And so you go straight back into the nature of the relationship that you had. It's not, even though you found your own healing, it's your healing away from them. It's not your healing with them, because there is no healing with them. And so what can happen when you go back? What can happen when you let yourself go back, even if you think, and men do this especially, okay? I've heard many men do this, and women do it too, but I'm just warning you guys out there. Because I think men think they can detach more from the act emotionally than women do. Women often know they can't. And I'm generalizing here, but I am giving it as a warning more, because I hear it more from the guys, right? And that is that even if you're able to detach emotionally when you're hanging out with them before the act, the release of oxytocin is going to throw you back. You're going to be completely confused, even though you know better. And you're gonna hate yourself for it. Okay, you're gonna blame yourself, and you're gonna go after yourself, and feel guilty and be judging of your own actions. So it is not worth it. It is not worth it, and it's not as easy as it. It's not as easy as it seems like it would be. And I'm going to move on, because okay. I feel like they need a full panel of STD tests run after finding out. Anyone feel like they need a full panel of STD tests run after finding out what was really going on? It's a very, very wise idea. It's a wise idea after any partner, but it's a very wise idea when you've been with a narcissist, because the majority of them cheat, whether you know it or not. Not all of them, but the majority of them. And I can't say all of anything for anything, but most people have a story of cheating. Okay. He had erectile dysfunction, preferred masturbation to porn. And that makes sense. And I would guess that partially that was a psychological dysfunction based on his repressed emotions and ego. So I don't know, but it makes sense. And it makes sense if he can get off to porn, then obviously there's that detached element that the man needs in order to have a sexual release, right? Today, I feel I have resolved because my narcissist has not contacted me since insulting me. Wait. Okay. Shortly before he blocked me and said everything was all my fault, he sent me an email asking for sex. Of course he did. This is the classic Hoover, discard, Hoover, discard, Hoover, discard, right? And they can do it in one breath. As soon, like they can do it in the matter of a sentence or two. You know, they won't blame you yet, but they'll ask for sex. And when you don't reply, suddenly you are being told, well, it's all your fault anyway. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't want you in my life. It's, you know, yep. It's the cycle, right? Let's see. I didn't reply. I see myself falling into bed with him sometime in the future if he seems sorry for the way he ended things. And again, go back to what I just talked about, that it is not a wise idea for your own healing and safety to ever have any form of touch. For the majority of our relationship, we had a pretty passionate sex life, and he allowed me to explore my BDSM kinks with him. Okay, and this again, did a whole, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to talk about it, because I did a whole video on this, and I could talk for a long time on this. I didn't add as much as I'd like to that video because I didn't have the input that I would like, because I only have my own, and there's not a lot of research out there on this, so it's hard to find it. Anyway, I realized him claiming to be a dominant was more part of the narcissistic personality trait and not an actual fetish kink. He was the only person I had sex with since I was 19. I started dating my ex-husband at 19 until I was 42 years old. It's complicated. I'd like to have a sexual relationship with someone eventually, but I don't know how to start one. My narcissist was a trusted friend, and that's how we began our romantic relationship. Frankly, after my narcissist and my ex-husband, I don't know how to trust men anymore. And again, that's why I want to do a video or a live stream rather, just on the healing part of this. So hopefully I'll just revisit this one tomorrow or the next day, or Monday. And when we talk about that, but when we're talking about fetishes, kinks, BDSM in particular, because of the control dynamic and because of the amount of trust that is required in a relationship like that, or in a dynamic like that, it is never safe with a narcissist, ever, nor is it consensual. Okay? Because they are manipulating you into, even if they make it seem like they're following your desire to explore something, what they are is exploring their own sadism half the time. Okay, if they are a sadistic person, you got to watch. A sadistic person with no empathy, what is that? What are we stepping into when we are having a relationship where we are tied up naked in bed with someone who's sadistic and has no empathy? What is that? Okay, that is you being abused. All right, they are using you to explore their own lack of empathy and watching you enjoy your part of it, yes, but can you see how that's not exactly a healthy setup for you, and how any form of sex with a person like this is going to be a manipulative and completely, exactly, take you to where you can't trust men anymore, because frankly, you can't trust that. And if that's what you know of men, right. But that's not all people, and it's not even all people within that community or within that lifestyle. So obviously, but when you have a narcissist and you have BDSM, I feel like that is such a dangerously toxic place to step into, because it not only gets it, you have to understand that when you are a person that enjoys that part of sexuality, and I should have started this whole thing with, none of this is to judge, blame, shame, criticize, or critique anyone's sexual practice, preference, or desires or inclinations. This is to talk about the factor of what a narcissist brings to the equation. Okay, so when someone is enjoying their own part in a BDSM relationship, what they're allowing in is the psychological aspect. So it blends psychology, it blends your psyche with your sexuality. more than in a romantic way, in a way of handing over power as a submissive person, handing over power to a dominant partner, handing over control of your body. Okay, you're basically in a consensual BDSM relationship where you have a dominant and a submissive. The submissive person is consensually handing over power so that they can explore and experience their own psychology while they're having a sexual experience. And it is deeply affecting to the person who is experiencing this. In a healthy dynamic, you would have a dominant person who is also exploring their own psychology, but is also full of empathy and is also caring about their partner. Well, with the narcissist, when you cut that empathy out, you literally have voluntary abuse. And it's not voluntary. I don't mean you're saying, yes, abuse me. Okay. What I mean is that if you look at it from far, far away, that's how it becomes. And because you're consenting to it. But the thing is, you're not actually consenting to it because you don't know that this person is toxic and they are manipulating you, right? So you see how confusing that is. And it infuriates me, but it's because what happens is then you end up with people who feel shame, feel guilt, can't trust. All they were trying to do was explore a side of themselves that should have opened up a lot more instead of closing it down. And it's infuriating. So, okay. He called to tell me 4 days after we spoke that I went to a fertility doctor to have a family with him, dodged a bullet, that he found the love of his life. And it's not about sex. Since when? Oh, brother. Right? We know what that is. That's just that need to never commit, right? Yeah, the love of his life. That's him falling into his own love bombing beliefs. Okay. And each time she was gone, she gutted me about masturbation. Don't self-medicate, Jack, she'd say, as I thought it was a problem I had. And I was so traumatized and confused, it affected me bad. Right, because she wants to control every aspect of you. She wants to control that part of your life because if you're not getting it from her, if you're getting satisfaction or release from anything other than her, then she loses power, right? Okay, about 4 years into a sexual part of our relationship, I started to feel more like a sex doll than an actual person. Oh, here we go. Objectification and what it feels like. And it's awful. Sex was very porny. Yep. Hard, fast, slam, slam, slam. Eventually, I asked more than once for more kissing, touching, longer foreplay, and slower thrusting. That happened once. And he had a premature ejaculation when we slowed down, and he was gentler. He liked it hard, so I didn't suggest anything else, and that's how we always did it. And I just stopped feeling connected to him sexually in that way. And my guess is you stop feeling connected to yourself too, right? The only way to do that is to dissociate from what's happening, I think. I don't know. Maybe there's other ways. Somewhere, somehow, I gave the give and take of mutual consensual BDSM, again, just became sessions of how hard can you take it. I can't really explain it. I think I explained it earlier, right? I think I explained that part, that's exactly it. And they push the boundaries until it's to the level of pure sadism. It's just about them getting off in the way they want to get off. And once it's there, there's no going back. There's not, yeah. Someone says I can relate to this 100%. There was no affection and none of the playfulness or spontaneity you expect from an emotional connection with someone, even after 4 years. It was as if he didn't understand that closeness and intimacy were supposed to be part of sex. It was very much like an emotionally detached porn. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They are objectifying and using you as an object in which to satisfy their own sexual needs. And it has nothing to do with affection, nothing to do with caring. Even when they are into the foreplay part, it has nothing to do with caring. It's still about watching you have a reaction to them. Okay, yeah, I told him several times he couldn't do a thing. So he squeezed his neck hug a little tighter until I passed out. Oh, no. And he did it anyway. Oh, my gosh. It's very dark, and I do realize what it was, by the way. Yeah, I'm sorry, Grace. He was so proud of himself. Oh, my gosh, they are so sick. Right? Okay. I believe the narc X was a sex addict, as I know he's an alcoholic and he has 4 DUIs. He was also using porn to the point of using a work laptop and jeopardizing his job to access it. But he always thought he was better and wouldn't get caught. Well, there's that pushing that the rules don't apply to them thing, and that they're better than everything else and they can just do what they want because they won't get caught. Let's see. He always liked really young girls and guys and compared himself to them. I often wondered if he wasn't gay or bi. And a lot of people say this, and it's not a judgment on whether or not they are. They can be, and that's fine if that's their choice. But it's the fact that there's this denial factor and this sneaking factor that is, and it's the same as having no accountability, right? That they can't own just who they are and what they actually enjoy. They sneak around and do it this way. Okay. I feel like a huge part of the relationship was sex. It was all the time. Yep. Mine was definitely a sex addict. After 22 years, when I finally caught him with the still current gold digger and with daddy issues, he boasted that he had slept with over 400 women. Oh my gosh. Some of them my friends, present ones included. He says he's the world's greatest pickup artist. Sex was crazy, definitely porn style, but could be loving. It was always a guessing game. And that is part of it too. Some of them like to make a game out of it. And it depends on their moods. It depends on their moods of what they want in that moment, right? It's the delusion and the illusionary world that the delusions create that they then make reality by what they insist on. In the end, he asked if I like nicknames while we were having sex. I thought he would say something cute. He called me bitch. Oh, they like to do that, the shaming. They like to slut, bitch, whore. They like the shaming. A lot of them have a Madonna whore complex, right? They need the whore in bed. That's why a lot of times the narcissists will withhold after their partner has a baby, because it's not about the physical change in your body like you think it is. And it's not about, it's about seeing you as the mother figure that they can't handle. And that can be hard for a lot of people to just sort of reconcile that this person is also, a loving, nurturing mother, but healthy people work through it. And a narcissist can't handle it because they have mommy issues half the time anyway, right? So yeah, so they like the whore in the bedroom. A lot of them do. They really do. And they'll call you that. They'll call you all kinds of things and think you're supposed to like it. And if you feign liking it, just watch what happens. Well, please don't be in it and don't be doing this. But imagine what would have happened if you pretended to like it. They'd get off more, guaranteed. Or if you cried about it, they'd get off more. Just having any reaction, it's supply, right? Every time we had sex, foreplay consisted of him placing my hands on his genitals, porn, men, transvestites, rape fantasies every morning, regardless of how much I disliked it. That is so degrading in your own home, isn't it? I mean, whatever people's fantasies are, and keeping it in the realm of fantasy when it goes beyond, what's acceptable within the relationship is one thing, but insisting that it be the other person's sex life as well, it's yeah. And I don't know. The whole thing is, yeah. I told him to never call me a name like that again. Next day I was discarded. There you go. Yep. He needs the power of having someone he can devalue while they're having the most intimate form of connection in the relationship, sex, right? He needs to be in power, and by power I mean devaluing and criticizing and not even criticizing, literally cutting you down, making you beneath him. And that gives him the feeling of power and dominance. Is there any chance of having a normal sexual relationship after everything we've been through? Yes, absolutely. Not with a narcissist, but yes. Between sexual abuse as a child, nonverbal at the time, oh honey, and the BDSM with the last narc, and now no sex. I think that's your personal area of healing. It sounds like you've got your own levels of healing to go through there. But yes, it's possible to have a normal or what's normal? Have a healthy relationship with sex. Yes, I think it's possible, because you can do the healing work that it takes, and it may not be what other people consider normal. So look at it that way. It's whatever's healthy for you, and you can find that healthy place through, I mean, therapy is that's a good one for therapy, right? If you can get in. And you can't even imagine kissing a man after what's happened, then don't imagine that. Sex isn't all about another person either. I mean, and let's talk about this more in the next few days. So, I'll try to remember exactly what you wrote there, because it's gaining your own sexuality isn't about the other person, right? Especially after something like this. It's about your own power. It's about your own, what people do when they rape you, when they abuse you, when they, child abuse in that way, abuse through BDSM, like I said earlier. I think it's one of the more, it's the least talked about. I have not seen anyone else talk about it. Not in this way. I mean, maybe they haven't. I don't know. I haven't. When I looked, I couldn't find any. Okay. But it gets into your psychology. It gets into the way you believe, your beliefs, what you feel about yourself, how you feel about people, how you feel about your interactions with people, because it is so vulnerable and it is so open and trusting. Okay. And so yes, all of that though, what it does is it affects how you believe about yourself and how you experience other things and how you experience other people, right? All those forms of abuse, they're about somebody taking your power. They're about somebody taking who you are. And when you are an empathic, open, loving person, sex is about exchanging that openness, right? But if you don't have your own power within that, then it can be very scary, confusing, hard to trust. So I think it's a lot of it is about taking back your power or finding it for the first time. Does that make sense? And yeah, it's a really good question. Someone says it's a good question. I was wondering, and that's why I want to do a whole hour just on how to heal from it, or ways to heal from it, or what do we think about it, or what's going on that we can talk about to help people, number one, not feel alone. Number two, not have shame around it. And number three, see if we can help each other with ideas for how to move forward and heal. So let's keep going with this, and then we'll talk about that more, Belle, very soon, okay? And butterfly. Your heart is pounding. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel shaky disclosing these truths. I hope someone else out there, knowing I am healing, that they can too. Yeah, I mean, think how it feels. I mean, reading all these out loud on live, right? It's not. I get a little wound up with this one, because I feel like it's such a horrible place to abuse someone, right? They do enough damage in every other area, but this is such an area that we can't just go and talk about, especially in a mixed gendered community, very easily without triggering other people. And so obviously that's why I put the title on, so people know exactly what we're talking about. And if that's a trigger, please, turn it off or come back to it when you're able to, or whatever you need to do. But sometimes that shaky is a release, Grace. Sometimes it's a release. So take some breaths and feel your power in your disclosure. Okay. Because I think it does help people. I had so many people reply to the first one about how helpful and how much better they felt, even though it made them feel sick at the time listening, right? That it made them feel like they weren't alone. So guaranteed what you said helped people. It will help someone. All right. And I hope that it helps you to own your life and your truth and say it out loud. And that's what it's about too. Okay. She was seeming to have a low while I was slow dance hugging her, and she grabbed my hand and quickly just touched parts of her parts and her boobs. It was like she needed it there and then. Seemed pathological. Well, it is, because she needs the power, she needs the control, and she likely needs to feel like she's desired in that way in order to validate her own ego. Okay. My metro area has a nonprofit organization with counselors and community outreach. They offer free therapy to sex trauma victims. Oh, that's lovely. I should have said healthy because everyone's different. No, it's okay. I just change wording. I have never experienced agoraphobia or anxiety attacks since it ended, right? And I understand it's part of trauma bonding, except for being in it. Right. And a lot of people get stuck there, and they get worse agoraphobia and anxiety attacks afterwards. So I'm glad that it has gone away for you since then. Yeah, but it definitely is part of the trauma. I made my decision to leave mine. Seemed most upset by the fact that the sex was ending, even though it hadn't happened in months prior to this. He still tries to convince me to keep having sex with him. I told him, if you need it that badly, go find it. You and I both know that you know. How? He said, but I want it with you, not anyone else. Yeah, this time. Hoovers, right? They hoover through sex. Yep. Okay. The ex-narcissist is a covert and started using sex as just one of more means of abuse, punishing, and control. It's awful and so painful to have sex, intimacy, and all connected with touch withheld. More withholding. So much withholding. I'm reading here. All aspects of the narcissistic abuse are harmful, but it was with the withdrawal of affection that almost broke my spirit. Right, because when you take that away, there's none of that good oxytocin. Without that good oxytocin, you're relying on your purely emotional reaction to them, and the chemical reaction that happens from the devaluing and love bomb cycle. Which, if they're withholding affection, you're not getting the love bomb cycle, so your dopamine is going crazy with nowhere, and your androgynous endorphins have nowhere to land, right? There's no resolution without the oxytocin. The oxytocin release of the touch gives you the resolution, and also recreates the bonding. So without it, you literally feel broken. More than anything else, I want anyone going through that, or that has been through that, to know it wasn't your fault. It isn't your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. You aren't unattractive or unworthy or anything else. It's them. Not you. So please know that and keep working to heal. You do matter and you are enough. It's a good way to end that. Thank you. As far as therapy, it's okay to feel constantly like a therapist is defending the other person who devalued you and not validating you. No. Maybe a topic for another day. Fairly serious 3 years with therapists. No, it's not. It's not. And maybe if the problem is genuinely me, that's fine. I'll be accountable, but something feels off. If that were me, I would go talk to someone who is trauma specific, narc abuse specific, in the very least trauma specific, or go to a domestic violence shelter and talk to them just to get a different opinion. Tell the story as clean as you can and see what they say. Not about the therapist, just your own story, and see how they react to you. There is a level of accountability after a certain amount of years that is helpful in therapy, I'm sure. Like, for instance, on a coaching level, if people are trying to break trauma bonds and they only want to talk about the narcissist, well, that isn't moving forward to break the trauma bonds. That's the constant seeking of validation and it also holds someone to the trauma bond. So moving forward might be to see your own attraction toward the thing, or your own beliefs that hold you to that thing. Does that make sense? Which then turns it into more of like, but defending a toxic person who devalued, no, that's not okay. It's not validating. I don't feel it. It just depends on what it sounds like, right? There's a difference between shifting focus and defending a toxic person. And I would go talk to someone else, see what it feels like if you can. Lisa, I'm really messed up intimately. She withheld. Yes, I was desperate for touch. I didn't realize that I was being sexually abused, and she's told everyone I'm a sex addict. Yeah. I mean, again, it's about taking back your own. We have to see our own truth in it, right? And we have to see what we need and realize what we need is healthy and okay. And if it's not, figure out where we're unhealthy and fix that part, right? So, and when you do that, I don't know, I feel like much of the healing around this has more to do with regaining your own power in it, regaining your own voice and your own understanding your boundaries, understanding what it is you went through and what you would have not want to go through again, that type of thing, so that you can reclaim those places in yourself and find strength and power. Okay. And again, we'll do talking about that maybe I'll try to do tomorrow, but so it just stays relevant. If not, then Monday. Okay. It is hard to do. It's not, none of this is easy to do, Jack. You know that. This is not, I'm laughing just because, yeah, you know, it isn't easy. It isn't easy. So many layers. But sometimes as you start healing one part, another part wakes up and heals with it. So if you can find, I don't know, when I'm reading that, if you can find what the withholding programmed into you and work on that piece, maybe it would help you see that maybe it would help you see a different perspective that's more positive. Does that make sense? Hi, Crystal Jean. I've been visiting a trauma therapist. I only have ever felt validated and never blamed. Maybe by a trauma therapist would be a better help for this subject. Yeah, exactly. That's what trauma therapist or narcissistic abuse therapist in particular. It's okay. You can ask off-topic questions. I'm not. It wasn't off-topic. It's actually very on-topic because the healing from this is what matters. I'm only reading all of these so I can get through them and people feel validated and heard. And because there's little nuances that speak to different people, right? So different voices are helpful. But the real point of any of these videos is you guys and getting better and healing and living happier, more healthy lives, even though we had these people in our lives, right? So any question related to your own healing is more than welcome always. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Early in the relationship, sex was exciting and made me feel connected with him. As things deteriorated emotionally, he became more demanding. Exactly. Yes. Because in the beginning, it was the love bombing and you got the love bombing through the sex. And then the devaluing doesn't end at the level of interactions on a verbal level or on a day-to-day level. It's carried over into the sex life. If I said no, he slammed doors, turned on lights, blasted music, anything to prevent me from going to sleep. If I said yes, it felt like he just wanted to enact things that he had seen in adult videos. There we go again. Objectification. It's so awful. As if he wanted me to play a role of random woman he'd seen on a screen. The thought of being intimate with someone ever again is pretty terrifying after years of feeling used by your own husband. You can hear the common theme, right? Everyone is saying very similar things, even though it's a little bit different nuance, right? Sex was the most important part to the man I was seeing, and it needed to happen every day and preferably multiple times per day, which is untenable in the long run. If refused, the man would sulk and cause damage like a spoiled child. Reading these comments shows that there is a common ground and sex is used to control us by these people. 100%. Always. It's also meant to bond you to them so that you become theirs. And that's it. Mine wanted sex all the time. He also had temper tantrum when he didn't get his way. But when I did give in, it was never enough. Just a vicious circle. Yep. My ex-narcissist used to watch porn before he was able to perform because he needed the detached sexual charge. He needed to be detached and get horny, basically. That's it. It wasn't about love and affection. Sometimes, yeah, I would fall asleep and wake up and he was still watching the porn. Sometimes he would watch lots of it and then withhold sex. Right, because it's not about intimate relationship with you. It's about his relationship with his own body part and his own ego combined. So instead of intimacy, they get into their ego. We get into an empathic person or someone with empathy, even just not an empath, just somebody that people who are not narcissists, who have empathy, enjoy the connection with the other person. A narcissist enjoys the connection with themselves. And it's not even like a bliss or a beautiful thing where they love themselves. It's literally about their ego. It's kind of sick. It's very sick. I tried getting on top to provoke him and he got mad and straight out told me to get off. Lasted 2 months without sex, yet watching porn every night. When I asked why, if he was cheating, he said he was not attracted to me anymore, yet he would never leave. Because he was never attracted to you. And I don't mean that critically, like there's something wrong with you. What I mean is he's got a problem where he's only attracted to something he can completely 100% objectify. And that's the women on those screen, on that screen rather, pretty bad. And you deserve someone that sees you, someone that wants to be with you. I realize now, says Crystal, he never even touched me at all with tenderness. I always went to him. I didn't even pick up on it. I know. I was giving enough for the both of us. Exactly. Yep. This day, more than any other, makes me ache for all the hurt of each one of us has endured. No one has a right to do this to us. Exactly. You see, in that energy is where you turn it towards your healing. That no one has the right to do this to you. That's a powerful energy that you can turn toward, the power that you need to reclaim your own sexuality, I believe. Even when the sex was good, it wasn't anything he did. No, because they're having sex with themselves. They're not being intimate with you, right? I had a husband for 10 years that decided we didn't have a real marriage since we weren't having the amount of sex he wanted. And I could never meet that regardless of what I tried, right? Because he's got it's not about the marriage or the relationship, right? It's about his need. Oh my gosh, it's the same as any reason that they give for what need they're not having met. They expect you to meet 100% of their need, 110% of their needs, and to foresee the needs they might have, because that's what good supply does, right? It's really creepy to think that I was pretty much having sex with myself. You were not. You were trying to be intimate. He was having sex with himself. You were trying to be intimate, and you were connecting. Just because we connect with an empty person doesn't mean we're not still connecting. Does that make sense? It's just that you can feel the drain and the energy, how it's destructive to you. We'd be driving and she'd always reach down and tickle the outside of my trousers. She wanted me to go, oh yeah, it's, you see, she wanted the dangerous situations. She liked the attention, Jack. Nothing is ever enough for them on any level. Hello, Fajar? Okay. Thanks. I've really felt the difference between one of our live streams and after therapy. Thank you for the support. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Let's see. I have so much baggage. The first time we did it, he was 20 and a virgin. I had no idea. We did it and he bled all over me, uncircumcised. Okay. When I saw the blood, to my horror, I thought I started my period and ran away to the shower to rinse off. I was so embarrassed and ashamed. He let me believe it. Oh yeah, because he couldn't. Yeah, that makes sense. He couldn't own up to something biologically normal, right? Because that would mean I don't know what. Oh, this is an interesting one. Always a thing he does, and I know this one. Okay. He immediately runs off and takes a shower and cleans himself up. He's disgusting no matter how how clean he thinks he is or how much he thinks he is washed off himself. Pig. Yeah, what is that? I mean, I know some people just want to be tidy and clean, but immediately, really? I mean, what is that? Is that anyone else seen that with a narcissist? I have. It seems strange to me. It always felt like it was removing proof of the actual intimacy. Does that make sense? It's kind of weird. Okay. In my frank opinion, my narcissist was constitutionally incapable of really connecting on an intimate level. Yeah, this is a good one. He had such a deep-seated insecurities combined with his inability to cater to any of my needs that it left me feeling empty and used. It's exactly what you are, is empty and used, and it's really sad. Okay. It doesn't matter. But doesn't matter. But to more directly answer the question, I think it's important to understand that it isn't you. Their need to cheat, view porn, or in my case, for my husband to abuse his position of power to prey on much younger, fragile women, served only his purpose. He viewed as all-knowing, and to be viewed as all-knowing in the bedroom with someone whom doesn't know any better and has nothing to compare the experience to. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In my opinion, every narcissist I've met has multiple sex partners at the same time, most as a secret. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. Sex was always in the morning, and he always entered from behind, doggy style, no kissing, no eye contact. What does that speak of? What does that speak to you? That speaks to me of no intimacy, no connection, and objectification, especially if it's always. It's one thing to like a position, and it's another thing to that's all there is, right? All right. It seemed so sterile in a way, right? Okay. All right. Sex was great in the beginning, but after being used and abused for 11 years, I've become resentful and not attracted to him. He won't work, pay bills, help around the house, and barely helps with the kids. However, one day this week, he cleaned out the fridge after a power outage, and as his payment, told me I owed him sex. Oh, yeah. You see, it's currency. It's currency and power. And that is, I got through them. Okay, so that's what we have there, folks. That's a lot of stories. Kind of all similar, right? It's there was no look in her eyes. Right. There's that too. The empty look. If you've ever looked at them, they're enjoying themselves. Their look is empty, especially when it's intimate. We talked earlier about the kissing with the eyes open thing, and it's with the far off look or the weird looking through you. Yeah. I was told I was crazy for asking why he needed a shower so close together. Right? What did you learn new, Grace? I missed it. Crystal, I never forget that feeling, noticing she was looking at me when we were passionately kissing. Yes. Creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. So there's it's funny because eye contact is such an intimate form of communication, isn't it? You have a friend and you look in each other's eyes, and you have a partner and you look into their eyes, and it feels very intimate. But there's something about that when they're kissing you and they're staring at you thing. Oh my gosh, it's psychopathic feeling, right? It's horrible. Okay. Even in the beginning, when we needed hugging and I felt so connected, he'd be starting off so disconnected, right? Yep. Hi, Phoenix. When our toddler woke and came into the bed, he kept going with increased vigor. Okay, that's just a whole nother level of sick, right? I learned that the constant from behind sex can be a red flag regarding intimacy and avoidance. I think so. I mean, I think anything where there's no eye contact. Okay, so eye contact during kissing is with a narcissist. If you've ever experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. It's creepy and weird, and it's not... It's like being looked through or observed rather than an intimate looking. But when I'm talking about this, making sure your face is turned away from them thing, the eye contact during the sexual act with some people is very affectionate, right? With a narcissist, it's, being observed is a difference. And when they don't even want to look at you while they are doing their thing, doesn't that just scream of objectification? It does to me. Okay. All the nude pictures I found on his phone were all from behind. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. What really gets to me is the way I laid my life down for a person with no emotional connection or care for me as a person. I was like a doll to use as he pleased. And you see, this is the point, Butterfly Mama. This is the whole point of this. I mean, who cares what they do sexually otherwise, right? It's that it gets into your experience of what it's like to be loved and versus being used, right? And it actually makes me want to cry when I said that. Sorry. Okay. Gotta move on. Because you know, as sexual people, as people who have lives that are, you know, adult, right? We want our connections to be real, and it is a place where they can take what is inherently real for most people, that connection, especially within a relationship. I'm not talking about one night stands or when you are secondary supply. Okay, when you're secondary supply, you're being used, end of sentence. When you're somebody's cheating partner, you're being used, end of sentence. Okay, and you got to know that. But whether it's a toxic person using you or just someone desperately lonely or just someone that's really needing affection, it doesn't matter. You're being used, right? When you are somebody's secondary supply. But what Butterfly Mama is saying there is we lay down our life. We literally open ourselves intimately and on every level to these people who, when you look at it just from the sexual aspect, just from what we're talking about today, are doing nothing more than use you as a doll to use as they please. And it literally, that sums up a relationship with a narcissist. They're using you as whatever they need for what they please. So let's talk about healing. Okay. It's like when, like them saying, fall into me and I'll catch you. So you do. And then they step back and you hit the floor, hugely demanding and so damaging in so many ways. It really is. All right. Me and his kids were a facade of normalcy for him. That too. That's exactly. It makes them so that it gives them the illusion when they having this life with a partner, because you think, why do they bother? Like, why don't they just have a bunch of flings and, you know, keep it on the objectification level? Why don't they just watch porn and take care of themselves? You know, you think, why do they? Because it gives them the illusion of being a normal person. And then they think they are. It gives them they live in a delusional world and they create the illusions around them to support that world. So yes, that you and the kids became the facade of normalcy for him. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Yes, we let so many things slide, but we need to forgive ourselves. We do. And self-forgiveness in this area, if you can see, listening to this, I hope that what you sense is that none of this is anyone's fault. You're stepping into a relationship and an intimate relationship with someone, and you are doing what you do, right? You're being intimate. You're having a relationship. It's the same as any other aspect of abuse. You don't see it when you're in it, even if you feel it. The cognitive dissonance kicks in, and the oxytocin in your body rises, and you feel love for this person, and you don't see it. You don't know how to get out of it and extract yourself from it because there is intimacy for you. There just isn't intimacy for them. Does that make sense? And so self-forgiveness is huge here, because it's not, and already in society, we have shame around sex. I mean, just saying the word is like, they're blocking. You don't know how many of you guys I had to, oh no, they'll stop. You don't know how many of you guys I had to like allow the chat for, just because of the words used, and nobody's really saying anything anything vulgar. So just the way our society works, just there's shame around the topic to begin with. So we have to work to turn that shame into power and reclaim the part of yourself, or claim the part of yourself that is that part of your being that knows how to share intimacy with another human being, or oneself, or whatever, the world around you, whatever it is, in a healthy, sane, way that isn't harming anyone else. So yeah, let's see here. it's never ending, right? So what do we do? What do we do here, you guys? Some ideas for healing. What have any of you tried? What helps you? I like dancing. I think that finding your own sense of self through movement is really useful through posture and body language, because what's happened is you've had your body used from someone who's empty and sadistic and controlling. So if you can take that back through movement, to me, that's a safe way to approach it without going straight at the triggers. Does that make sense? It still can be triggering, but things like that. I'm going to trauma yoga with a therapist next week. See, movement and breath. It's important. And it's okay when things come up and it hurts and whatever as you're moving through it. That's just part of the healing and the release. The shaking that was it, who spoke of this? Grace, was it? It talked about the feeling shaky. That's part of the healing. It's part of being able to speak your truth, own the power up behind it, and let yourself feel what you need to feel and breathe your way through that trigger. All of that starts to take it back. So I want to do a whole hour on this, and I'm going to have to end soon. So if anyone has anything they want to talk about on this topic, I'm going to end in just a minute otherwise, and we will talk about healing from this. I'll try to come on tomorrow with that. I may need a little time just to think about different ideas, so I have enough material, so it may be Monday, but I will try one of the 2 days. I want to start an Insta page with helpful info about this topic and maybe offer shirts worth helping catchy quotes, but the shame is holding me back a little. Well, just Pinterest it. Do something to get yourself moving with it. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try. Okay, you said that. Okay. Haven't heard of trauma yoga. I think it's a very breath oriented, less stretchy oriented, but hopefully there's some postures to hold, because I feel like when you've had your body abused, using your body to heal is important. Does that make sense? Okay. It's next Tuesday. Oh, I'm going to have to stream before then. Actually, I know someone who's done it, so I will try to talk to them before I talk about the healing from this talk. Okay, and I'll try and get some info on that. It will be before your yoga thing, so tune in, so maybe it will give you some tips and hope. Okay, because I know she loves it. I think with porn, either it gets more violent or the girls get younger. It never remains the same level, and they can't even be satiated. That's right. See, and it's interesting because I had one that was anti-porn. Like, seriously, didn't like it. Not anti, just didn't like it. He needed real human contact. To me, that screams of psychopathy because of everything else and the sadism and the lack of, like, really needing another person to be the target of and the receiver and the responder to his sexual nature, which sounds good in a sense of, like, if it was healthy, but the fact that there's no empathy and there is a sadistic element, it takes it to another level, right? Okay. She said there are postures. Couldn't do it this week in a dress. Cool. Thanks so much. You're welcome. And postures, awesome. Again, as I said, using your body to heal something that's body oriented is probably the most ideal that I can think of right now off the top of my head. Does anyone here feel like they're still slightly protecting the abuser? Oh yeah. I don't know, I'm not going to speak for anyone here, but I hear that all the time. It's the cognitive dissonance is strong, and empathy is it's hard to separate empathy from sympathy. Does that make sense? When we have both, it can be really hard. And I don't know your personality. Do you know you're a Myers-Briggs type, Jack? Because that can be useful, like how to work with things sometimes can be useful to know how your personality type. Oh, go to 16personalities.com and take the test and let me know. I'm curious. I have a guess, but I don't know you well enough to guess accurately or even if my guess would be accurate. But because what you can learn there is how you respond, how you take information in and process it, and then how you view the world based on that information. So if you're protecting your abuser and you know better, right? And you've been healing long enough to know, to even be able to name it, this is cognitive dissonance. I know exactly what's going on. I don't know why I can't stop it. Sometimes it's in our belief system. You're an INFP. So if you're an INFP and you have that protecting the narcissist thing, my opinion is that you are a person who believes deeply in the emotions that you feel, and you're intuitive. So it reinforces the intuition reinforces the belief in the emotions. Perceivers tend to believe, in my opinion, I'm no expert. I just talk to people all the time and I'm obsessed with this stuff. I'm INFJ, but my P is, it's 48%. So I'm almost an INFP. I just don't believe the emotions as much. I tend to like get that judging thing going, and the edge kind of takes it down a notch. So once I'm done, I'm done. Whereas INFPs tends to be harder to slam the door, where you still can slam the door, but then there's that leftover believing the emotion things. I'm interested in belly dancing. Okay, I'll show you my shirt. It's a belly dancing shirt. Sorry, I can't turn around, but yep, that's what I do to reclaim it. I'm telling you, it's tough, it's hard work, and it's awesome. And you get to move in ways you feel like moving for yourself in a room full of women. It's awesome with great music. Anyway, so back to the INFP, INFJ thing, as I am being completely all over the place right now, as I've hit past the hour mark. So yes, if you are a perceiver and intuitive, ENFJs and ENFPs and INFPs, it seems to me that people, when I work with them on a coaching level, they tend to have a difficult time. Like emotions and beliefs are tied together deeply, okay, in a way that's more intense than people who have the J. And so knowing that about yourself, then you can lean on your logic a little more. Lean on your logic more, listen to other perspectives, journal it out, things that make lists, things that make it more linear, so that you're not, because emotions are, they're swells and you go with them, right? What's the website? It's 16personalities.com is what the one most people take the test on. And it has good descriptions on there. Let's see. Your info on avoidance helped me understand and made me sense of her detachment. Oh, good. I'm glad that helped. Okay. Have you done a session on types? I want to. Please do one again after a few of us take the test. Okay. I love that stuff. I love working with people with that stuff. I love it in coaching. Oh my gosh. I love it in coaching. It's because, especially when you get with the group coaching, and I get a dynamic of different people within a room, and they each have, I'm coming to life now. They each have their own way of, each have their own traumas, right? But we're all working through the same stuff, similar. So many of us have the same childhood backgrounds are similar, right? But the way the personality types take the abuse, and the way the personality types handle and cope with the trauma, I see definite markers for how each type seems to react to trauma, seems to react to their own beliefs about themselves, and what it takes to help each person move through that based on their type. Is that making sense? I am fascinated by it, and I just love it. And again, I'm no expert, but I am. That's where the way my intuition works and my understanding like collide, and I love it. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So I'll have to think of some topics. I want to do one on self-care and personality types. I've already asked questions about that, and I have some information that I could start with, but also how our beliefs affect us and our personality types. And frankly, I have to admit straight up, there's only 4 types I'm truly familiar with, because there are only 4 types that ever come to me with coaching. Seriously. There's the INFJs, the INFPs, the ENF. Oh, there's 5 types. Excuse me. ENFPs, ENFJs, and the ISFPs. Okay, that 5. I don't think there's been another that I know of type that comes to me personally. So, which is fascinating, right? And also shows how many of us, those are the empath types, how many of us are affected by narc abuse, and how many of us are not only affected by narcissistic abuse, but are also the type that wants to heal through self-development and evolving, which is also beautiful. So, okay. Isn't it interesting just in itself? And I don't even, it's like, I think it's fascinating, and it's good. So, all right, you guys, that's a fun way to end a serious topic, and enjoy, and let me know what your types are. It's exciting. I'll try to do that later next week, maybe at least one part of it. Something with INFP empath, HSP, highly sensitive person. Yep. Being an INFP, an empath, and a highly sensitive person equals narc magnet. I prefer to call it not a magnet because, well, okay, if you consider yourself a magnet, turn your polarity around, right? Turn the polarity around and become all of those things to yourself so that you don't let narcissists in. And that's another good topic. Sorry, now I'm completely rambling. It's another good topic of how the personality types can effectively narc-proof their life. Okay. And why they're affected by narcissists differently. For instance, I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, for instance, the ENFPs are energetic people who tend to be Angie types. You know, they're energy, and they're able to talk to people, and people understand them, people relate to them. They can speak in a crowd. They can, do all this stuff that's a little more difficult for us introverted types to do and attract people toward them. And when a narcissist comes after them, that's what they're after. They're after that juice, man. They're after that energy. They want to ride the high of that. And ENFPs tend to be people who are, they ride their emotions a lot because they've got the extroverted side. So while the INFPs feel that deep emotion, the ENFPs really ride it like they're surfing. Okay. And a narcissist will be attracted to that because everyone is, right? But they're attracted to that and they feed off that. And what happens with the ENFPs is they end up more physically broken, completely devastated, low. They literally have a flip in personality because they go from this high, very active person to somebody crashed into the ground, right? Does that make sense? So anyway, that's all really interesting stuff and I love it. So, Okay, you guys, I'm going to end with that, even though I went completely off topic there, but it's good stuff. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you all for joining me. If you have not already hit the like button if this topic was useful to you, or if you would like more of it in the future, or if you just feel like, and you like thumbs. All right. If you've not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button so that you have notifications. I'm trying to get on here 5 days a week. Right now I'm at 3, maybe 4. So working on it, summer schedule, you know how it is. Okay. And also, if you would like a text notification of when I am going live, I send text notifications between 5 and 10 minutes prior to a live stream. Text to 33222 Lise Live, LISELIVE, and I will send you a notification. I do not send any other notifications, just that one. So take care, you guys, and let's talk about healing from this stuff next time. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's try to do that tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow morning, I think, around the same time, maybe. Bye.